So this last work group will be about how to implicate, and we will show this after, how we can all work together on the federation to improve what we are doing. And I will tell you more after this. First, we will listen to Arthur and Alessandro about this, and they will explain to you what they will say. First things I wanted to say is some comment on dit shit. J'ai oublié mon remerciement.
Thanks.
Some thanks. Okay. I really want to, we really want to thank you, especially the place, but also Sebastian from Expressen and Expressen, because he's doing. Because anything would be possible if he wasn't there. He made an amazing work and volunteer work, as some of us, but he made it locally, and we are this place because thanks to him, and the one before thanks to him also, and wonderful events in between, and the food and everything thanks to him. So, and also. And also we can thank our two translators for the amazing and repetitive work each year. And now they can talk, but for real, so we can listen to them.
Thanks. Thanks, Aurin. Attends, je peux juste mettre.
Ah, vas-y. Ouais.
Ok. Okay, thanks Oba, thanks everyone, and thanks by Expressen. Just to introduce ourselves, I'm Arthur, and I'm doing sociology of work. I'm a postdoctoral researcher, and I'm doing ethnography, and sometimes I'm hiding, and other times writing some stuff. And that's all.
Yes. Hi, I'm Alejandro, and I just hope I just finished my PhD on. I think I finished, but they need to tell me in 1 week. So I've been working in CoopCycle during the last 3 years, and with Artur I have been translating like the board and all the assemblies and the trainings, and I do it because I was interested in knowing how workers decide how to organize themselves without any kind of normal or traditional ways of dealing a business that is really hierarchical. So I wanted also to thank you for hosting us and be also so welcoming. And yes, so we can start. Yeah.
You start?
Oh, it's me for start. Yes. Well, I hope. Yes, so basically, because of these years of following the federation, we were proposed to do a small presentation in order to kind of also share our views on the federation, especially in terms of this questioning that you have around the implication of members with this new membership system. And for this reason, like, we did a really simple presentation that basically repeats many of the things that we have been listening today and yesterday. But we thought it could be interesting to present like a reminder, like the historical evolution of CoopCycle to start, because as you all know, CoopCycle started as one mentioned previously by some volunteers that wanted, in a French context, to create an alternative to the gig platforms, especially in delivery. And since then, there has been like, like 8 years and a lot of changes, no? So, because we want to speak about participation, we thought it was interesting to see from where the federation came and how it has evolved and how this has kind of influenced the current dynamics of the federation and the current debates on work and voluntary work. So first, like following also like some presentations that you have done in previous years on CoopCycle, there was this kind of first period that we understood that was like more led by the volunteers and the creation of the basis of the initial network of CoopCycle. And basically this work was like voluntary work, like unpaid work, I guess. And the focus was to focus mainly in the definition, no, and the creation of an alternative political project for the delivery work that then has evolved, especially in a second stage of growth, especially during the COVID period, where many of you joined and the federation grew pretty fast. And then all this complexity started to come about how this new diversity of members, this new diversity of context, as some people mentioned before, start asking CoopCycle to make like temporal like exceptions on the initial criteria of the federation. And now, since 2023, it seems like you are in a process of ongoing professionalization and internationalization, as Oban described, where you are trying to balance this political and economic project while keeping your values. So we thought it was interesting to highlight this dynamic, because from the start, and as we discussed with many of you, there has been also this voluntary work part in the federation that then was added with some paid work with Mex that become the developer and Adrian the coordinator. And now you are kind of asking yourself like, okay, what may be work, what may be paid work, unpaid work, and how do we recognize this work? So yeah, sorry for the long first slide.
And what we can observe together is that CoopCycle is a kind of double nature organization or dual organization who combines political activity but also economical activity. And it's something that very common in the cooperativism and also in platform cooperativism. And at the individual level, at a more concrete level, it means that riders or courier carry a double gapet, have two roles to play as a worker but also as a cooperator. And what we can also observe when we make comparison between our different case studies, not just in riders COPs, but also in other type of COPs, is that CoopCycle, as other COPs, face two main risks. First, the risk of internal degeneration, to turn towards a kind of hierarchical functioning. And it's perfectly normal to shift from horizontal governance towards a more vertical governance, but it can be also some moments, and it can vary all along the time. And the second risk we can identify is the risk of isomorphism. That means just an organization is not alone, is not an island lost in the sea. It has interaction with its environment, and it can be influenced by the institution when you want to grab a subvention, a subsidy or a grant, for example. Or it can be also influenced by the economical interaction, of course. For example, a very concrete example is just when you receive an emergency command and you decide to accept this, and it changes your working conditions, and it puts more pressure on the rider's shoulder, for example. Cuando aceptas un pedido de último momento que te pones más presión sobre el rider. No, espera. Thus, we propose to speak. There was an author who speaks about double. Double cap. But I think it's more relevant to speak about double gapet. I don't know how to translate it, but it's a French term. Cycling cap. With us losing your head. Double gapet would means to to conciliate, to articulate economic viability at an organizational level, to generate stable income, but also to make organizational work on political stuff and activity. But it, I think it. Sorry. And it means at individual level also to question the balance between personal life and professional life, the time you spend at workplace. And one specificity of CoopCycle as a federation is to articulate this balance between with another factor that is a federal level and to give something and we save also from the federation.
So again, like we had many examples that show like kind of this complexity, but these are all the examples that we were hearing these days, no? Like for example, when a cooperative or a collective wants to be part of CoopCycle, like at the local level, they already need to find a group of people that want to create the collective. They need to find the way of funding the investment of the bikes or the storage or the office or the buildings while trying to make money. They need to find a balance between the clients you want to have and the clients you would like to have. And to this complexity, then you have the complexity that after doing your work and trying to get time for yourself and trying to get time for doing other things out of work, then you also want to engage in another level, no? You have a double engagement, and this complexity, what it shows is that this engagement somehow needs to be like kind of, on the one hand, like limited, no? Like it needs to be a time that it's possible to be provided without over demanding on people's voluntary engagement, no? And also that means that if it was not the case, that would also mean that this kind of engagement that would be expected from members, whether it could have a negative impact on the well-being of members sometimes, because that would mean that these members are over-engaging in the local and the federational level, but also it could mean that it could be an engagement that's could be less inclusive, no? Because if that engagement is something difficult to provide by most of people, then it means that only a minority of people could be able to provide this additional time that they already provide in the federational level. And we have, well, we've had many examples, but I think, yeah, you already know, you already repeated them, so we don't want to take the time for repeating these examples.
And just speaking about the economy of CoopCycle, and like how been said this morning, there are at least three moments when work produces values and not only exchange values or money. I think first of all, market-based financing. That's simply delivery when that allows COPs to pay contribution, for example. But also, second point, the redistribution, what we call redistribution through, for example, grants or subsidies that comes from public authorities, municipalities, but also states and also European institutions. And that's valuable for two of us too, because we are doing research in the support of European institutions, in fact. And I think one moment very important to stress is also a link very important to stress is also the link of reciprocity between the COPs, a more horizontal way of exchanging. I think about intercooperation, and intercooperation generates many values, in fact. And it's just not money, but in the value of the red also. I think in particular, speaking some ecologistica, because I remember when I was in the field in Mansacas in Barcelona, it simply means when you can help each other because there was a lack of means. For example, there was a lack of bike, or just somebody cannot come to work, and you can help each other in a very concrete way. I just yet want to present this triangle of plural economy of CoopCycle. Okay. But also just to dialogue with what we said during 2 days in the P-Wheel. I think the case of CoopCycle, if I can speak in this way, tackles the question of work in a very brutal way, and especially the boundaries of work. Firstly, the first thing is what work is visible and what work is completely invisible. But also voluntary and paid work. We speak all the day of this, in fact. And I think it depends also the way you wear your double gappet, if I can speak in this way. I think also about dead and living work. If we think about all the work that is put into the platform and the software, it's a mountain of work, and it's the same things. And obviously, we can speak also about productive and reproductive work, the care, the way we manage conflict, but also what we can name emotional work. That is very important because it's very stressful to ride in the street. It depends of the city, but in general. And I think also about organizational and democratical work we are doing now and tomorrow too also. And this question is connected to another, maybe, that the question of gift. It's also the reciprocity link or the inter-cooperation. And what we can observe at this moment, because CoopCycle seems very, very more and more organized to be a long-term and sustainable organization, that the challenge is to organize this gift, to take aware of the gift, what you receive, but also to think about how can I give at a certain point of my commitment. And just to sum up, these two questions tackles another big question that I've no solution about that, no answer, but the question of what could be a sustainable organization, in fact. Not just from a money point of view, but also from a human point of view on the question of care.
And when we were usually when we do translation with Arthur, what happens sometimes is that we talk to each other and we share like our thoughts and our ideas and what we kind of think, no? Because we are probably the only people that are spending so much time with you, seeing like what you are building, what you are doing, and trying to make sense also comparing to other things that we are doing research on the capitalist platforms. And one of the ideas that was one of the things that we were discussing is how you are making, like how are you changing the platform economy? No, we were discussing what are the difference, no, between CoopCycle and the platform economy, no? And I think it's a really interesting point, like in the discussions that you are having now, because basically capitalist platforms like Deliveroo, they have something maybe in common and something that are completely the opposite of what you're doing, no? Like basically what they have in common is that what makes them work, or at least what what makes them work is that they burn money, basically, that they waste money because they are not even profitable sometimes. No. And also they are publicly subsidized because they don't pay taxes. And this is something that we never said about. And they are overly subsidized. But basically what they want to do is to do network effects. So basically they want to build a network of actors and dependencies among customers, direct customers, companies. And the way they work is that they want to create this dependency so they can create a monopoly. And when they create a monopoly, then they want to extract rent and reduce like the labor conditions, but also the commissions. So what is interesting is what you are experimenting, no? Because basically what you want to do is completely the opposite, but you are also building a network and you are also trying to make like your own kind of network effects in order to be able to survive and to make your platform work and to pay yourselves properly and to make something different, no? And the question is like the question that we are having and that we are really happy to see like how are you framing all your project is how do you think about your own network effects, no? And how these are built in a completely different way, no? So first, you create your own technology, that what it wants is to replace the technology of these platforms that you need for work. But then also, suddenly you start sharing support also, supporting each other, exchanging. You are also sharing knowledge, you are sharing ideas, you are sharing opportunities. And also you are starting to have some of the things that you may be starting to have some of the things that they created. You can start maybe to have the power to negotiate maybe at some point. For example, some of the discussions that were present in the gender perspective forums is the relations that you have with big cyclologistic companies, no? So maybe these network effects that you are building at some point, they will give you more power to try to set a more clear relationship with these companies, no? So, yes, sorry, I'm really... So maybe we want to speak about some of the dynamics that we see in CoopCycle.
Yes, just to conclude and to sum up, but we are going to repeat something that were already said this morning. But first of all, one dynamics we can observe during it makes 3 years we are working together is the dynamic of professionalization and the transformation of the profession of the work from delivery or courier of express courier to cycle logistics. It's a very important point. But also concerning more specifically CoopCycle, I think about geographical dynamics because CoopCycle is expanding through different territories and also at a local level. And I think it's very important to have in mind that there are different scales to expand on not just a big one, but also in different directions. It seems to be a relevant way of building ahead. And another internal dynamics we can stress is the dynamics of inclusion of openness about gender perspective and also about non-Eurocentric perspective, because we know cooperativism is very Eurocentric thing, and it's another challenge to expand beyond these boundaries. And finally, dynamics that is also organizational. And we speak about this morning about the role of coordination on the division of work between different entities and people. Sometimes the same, but it's very important. And I think also it's very important to stress the work that is accomplished by la Maison des Coursiers in France, because it's the association side of CoopCycle that is also reflects his history. And finally, we want to thank you and to thank CoopCycle for socializing riders, platforms, and also researchers. maybe if there are questions or if you want, we can discuss here or later.
3 years in CoopCycle, when are you riding a ship?
Many times. But yes.
Are there other examples?
Of
Other examples
of what?
I don't know, platform, cooperative.
Tu veux peut-être répondre sur ton terrain?
Ouais, pero plataformas cooperativas.
Ah, ok.
You- To CoopCycle. I don't know. Like, I think there is. I mean, I can say, I will say openly what I think, because I think it's really important. I think that CoopCycle is one of the few cooperatives that is trying to apply a model of cooperative platforms that is really clearly working as a cooperative platform. Because, for example, there are, in this thing of platform cooperatives, there are a lot of things that are called platform, but it's not really clear if they are cooperative or not. Like, for example, you have platforms that that have a software that is owned by a private company and is completely outsourced, and is more the organization of work that is organized. So basically, sometimes they are called platform cooperatives, but the platform is not their platform, so it's a little bit weird. I think there are many examples, but they are kind of new, and as this kind of movement of moving cooperatives to platforms is so recent, and as you can experience, like the evolution that it requires to see how they really work, it takes years. I mean, in terms of things that we have observed and discussed with other researchers, I think they are, but they are starting to experience as you. But maybe what there is in common with CoopCycle is this kind of questions about what is worked in platforms, no? How do you govern platform cooperatives in terms of participation when you have people that are dispersed? How do you manage the fact that people that want to work in the platforms to also have double works? So they have part-time works. But still, I think I don't know Arthur, but I think I spent quite a time looking for examples that work, that explain how they work in governance, and I don't know so many. Maybe they are, but that they own the software, that they meet so actively, that they overthink about their limits, that they overthink about what they are doing, what they can do, what they cannot do, and I think there are not so many. The only thing I can say is that they share these kind of organizational problems, and this complexity makes it difficult to put clear boundaries about work and to take care of the workers themselves that work in these platforms, because it's really complex and it requires a lot of time, but also it requires money that is always missing.
Not the same, just it exists in. There are other models, but more located models. For example, in New York, there are the driver's cup, but there are other scope that, for example, Laura knows. And but I don't have in mind any federation, transnational federation that rests upon the principle of commons on digital commons at this point.
And just also to add something about the House of Riders, the one in Paris is part of WorldSport. It's a project of CoopCycle, if we can say it like this. It's a common goal at least. But it's not the only one. We're talking about this one because it's in France and it's in Paris. There's some more in France also, like in Lyon, in Nantes, Bordeaux first. That was like a duplication of the Parisian model. There is one in Nantes that is coming to life. There was one in Lyon, no? Ah, in Lille, yeah. No, it's in Lille, not Lyon. And there's also like kind of union works they're doing is also present, for example, in Poland with Zentrale. It's also present in Slovenia. I talked recently with a person in Ljubljana that have this union works, and it could be it's one also project, like inner project, silent project of CoopCycle with the House of Riders, to see how we could work together on the national level and especially on the transnational level, because we are all doing we have all the same value. We are not doing the same thing, but we have all the same value, and it could be really interesting to put our forces in common because we have the same fights. So yeah, we are only talking about the one we know because we know it well, but it's something that is not only from us. It's something that happens more and more with Uberization. We have a lot of people that come together to have these fights, and probably it could be even more interesting to see where we can put the fights in the same direction. So, to continue. Sí.
¿Hay material editado de las experiencias de las casas de riders?
I think so. Is there any material to any studies or documents that is done by the House of Riders in Paris, or in I don't know. There's a beautiful book that is written in Spanish, also, from a certain person that is here.
They published a report, the House of Riders in Bordeaux. They published a report which is accessible online. This is in French.
Je sais pas, Marina. I mean, apparently there's also reports from the Parisian one, but we just need to find them. The beautifulness of the web and the volunteer work. To go on this, just a small reminder I made this morning, thanks to Titouan, about having some quick reminder about the contribution system that was made and voted at last GA in AWAL. So global ID is 3 steps. It's not really, there's no really boundaries except the first one, that is just like you have a 1 year to, around 1 year, to find your place in the federation, to go in without no expectation, find how it's working, etc. You are more than welcome to the annual meeting, because it's a better place to see how it's working. But you don't have not the right to vote, but it's like you don't know how it's working. So until this year, it's just like you feel free to just listen. Once you do this, you're an intermediate member. When the SIG will be created, you can be applying for the SIG membership. You are more than welcome, and you are kind of not obliged, because we know we all have something to do in our own cooperative, but you should be there, if we can say it like this, or at least you should be represented, because it's not only about voting for something, but it's also about sharing your side of the story, and participating in work groups so we can all move on in the federation. And you have an active participation in the network on Slack, for example. And the third one is the full member. It's about from 3 years, because it was thought like to be a full member, you need to have a project as this. How do you call it? It's kind of stable, like the 3 first years of a cooperative. It's always a bit tricky, because you have a lot to do. You need to settle your clients. You need to settle how you work, your fleet, your team, etc. So the idea is like, if you're a new project, being a full member before the 3 first years, it's a bit tricky. And so it's not, we didn't want it to stress people about being in this position before the 3 first years, but it's always something we can discuss with the board and with the assembly to see if it's possible in interesting for you and for anyone to accelerate, for example, the membership. And at this moment, the idea is like you have to commit to the development of the federation because you have a big structure or because you have time to give away, and you can involve in working groups as a non-financial and qualitative contribution. But we need to work on this because right now, so we made it last year. It was on from the 1st of January. So now we have a monthly billing system, invoicing system. So you don't only pay once a year. And so it's really, really nice for CoopCycle because now we know a bit more about what to expect in terms of income. We also have more like monthly income and not waiting for 1 year to have a big budget and see what we can do with it. So it's way better for this part, at least, and it should be said. And on the other part, where I was? Yeah, from the 1st of January, we say like, okay, all structures should be full members. New structures should be new members, and in between should be intermediate. So it was quite easy. And at one point, there was 2 problems. The first problem is that apart the board members, we didn't knew what to do and what to give them to do because we weren't organized for this. The other problem we had was people that were old in the federation, but struggling in on their everyday working life. And at one point, when we asked people if they were able to give time to CoopCycle, they said, no, I prefer to be back in the intermediate member system because I don't have time. Because my company and my structures is too small, because I don't have enough, even enough riders to do the job, so where could I find time? And at this moment, we say, okay, so perhaps it's not the good way to do it. And perhaps we can see who has time to give and how we can organize it to better work all together. So, yeah, what does it mean to be a full member committed structure? So this status, it's a status of engaged person, moral person. So it's what I said over 3 years around. So it consists of a reduced rate. I don't know if you all have in mind the rate applied today, but it's like a smaller one. On the software subscription fee, in exchange for participation in one or more working groups for non-financial contribution. So it can be, for example, all board members are not paid, they are volunteers. But in exchange, you have a small fee contribution. And yeah, and that's all. I already said everything. Yeah, and for example, we thought it was the idea also of the contribution system we worked on last year. And the idea is to have working groups on specific topics. So it's like one work group, one person in charge, because we need somebody to just like gather everyone at meetings. Also making kind of reports that can be shared with the coordination team that would be leading all the work groups. And we wanted also to have you all think about what kind of topic we should talk about, what kind of topic we should prioritize, because we can do a lot of things, but it's like communication, we can't do all. Even if we all give time, we have too much subjects and different subjects to work on, so we can't do everything. And also, if you have something to do, how much time do you think it will take around? Because we know that it's relative, but at least what time could we give to it? how many people it will need. Is it a short-term project, like we need, for example, the sick status to be finished, what I said earlier, or is it a long-term one, the gender committee, for example? So it will be like a long-term project that we will go on, and I'm sure it will never stop, because we can always do more. And also, as we want it to be qualitative and not quantitative, and we want to be sure to stick to this, we were thinking about how to monitor the involvement of a full member. And in this way, it's not like, oh, you're not doing enough. It's more in the other way, because we worked for 2 years on burnout in cooperative model, to see how we are sure that people giving time don't give too much time on it, and be sure that people invest, for example, in a work group, won't finish alone working on something and finish with a burnout because he works too much on the subject alone. And it's because we all have something else to do. So it's really how can we structure these working groups to be sure that everyone will be happy and still alive at the end of a work group. Or even just to take the example of the gender committee one, it's just like to be sure that work is done, that it's moving on the right direction and moving at all, and that the person in it won't finish with burnout, because it's a lot of work and a lot of energy. And yeah, so we need everyone to help think about this. So the idea is like now we will have time, it's 5. The idea is like in 1 hour we should be finished. So we have like 3/4 of an hour, 45 minutes, sorry, to gather in small groups and to think about what kind of project we could do, we could work on, how much time, yeah, I passed so much. So a list of possible missions. What does this mission consist of? How will be the assignment term, like long-term, short-term, mid-term, and how many working hours it should represent, and how we should give it in terms of, for example, per month, per weeks, per trimester, per year. So we were thinking, we listed a small ideas to start on, just to give you ideas or insights on it. So we have, like, for example, members of the board of directors. It's a monthly meeting lasting approximately 2 hours. It's something we try to stick to because we can talk for like more and more hours. But it's a Monday meeting at 6 o'clock that lasts until 8. We are all already burned by the day. So it's something we want to stick to be sure that we have relevant subject and we can have decision at the end. We need time to read up topics in advance, to document ourselves, to be sure that we have all the information to take decisions, and time for reflection and research. It's a long-term assignment, and it's approximately 4 hours a month. So this kind, or for example, communication, on which forum we should have presence, or other ideas we should have. Is it a long term? It's a long term. It's around 2 hours a month to gather and see what we can do next month. For example, onboarding. Onboarding is a place where everybody could help, because everybody knows the federation. Everybody knows how it's working. Everybody, or at least most of you, are using the platform, so you know how it's working. Even if you perhaps don't use everything on the platform. For example, I'm shitty at explaining food deliveries on the platform because I don't use it every day. So I'm getting skills in it, but I'm not the best one to do it. So when I do onboarding for structures that want to do food, I need to find someone else to help me do it. So help on board, including like video presentation, video onboarding, assistance, training, etc. So it's generally around 1 to 2 hours, because in 1 hour you just have time to like explain what the federation is about, and then you have like at least 1 hour of training on the first demonstration of the software. And then you have so much questions from people, and you have to do another one where you have like specific question on how the software is used and etc. Or how we can help them. For example, Paul spent I don't know how much hours to help the Lion cooperative to make their status and etc. etc. And you also have middle term, for example, to take one middle term. So reflection about subfederation and how to duplicate existing models. So it's just a working group where we need to find what actions were made to make this possible. How it would how it could be duplicated, how we can find interest, common interest in, so we can have different possible duplication, and also perhaps think about where it could be duplicated to. For example, we know that there's something that could trigger in Germany, so perhaps we should start on this, because it's always like done, like the meeting is already on, they know each other, etc. So perhaps it's a good way to start. So yeah, and the idea is to duplicate this list like this. And to be, perhaps it could be better to be by language facility. I don't know if we can say it like this, but to just be able to better talk and exchange all together. It could be also cool to have like a smaller group, like no more than 8 to 10 people, because if we are more than this, then it's probably complicated to have everyone participating in the work group. And there will be one person in charge of being, of it. There was possibilities that Remy is leading one. We will have. Ah ouais, ah cool. Non. Juste avant. Ah ouais, bah, il n'est pas au bon endroit. So yeah, group leaders, Thomas, Greg, Antoine, Rémi, and Titouan. So the idea is like we can duplicate this sheet that I will let here, and we could have like a 5 minutes report about ideas you found during this time, and we will be good for today. Yeah, and we have like craft stuff, paper, and post it because it's fun with colors. Thank you.
So I will start for our group. As a first thing, we haven't really been able to set hours to every task, and it was more about what task could be done. The first one, I think was already sort of in there, was to organize a group that is basically, the aim is to let CoopCycle co-ops represent CoopCycle on events. And the mission would be like a work group that keep an eye on all the events, make sure that the closest co-op and the most able to represent CoopCycle around there is contacted and can take that role. So it's also the whole year keeping an eye on all the new events coming on to make sure that we don't miss the whole thing. It's a bit of the same work group, but it would be also to create a communication pack that can be used on the events, and templates, because we have a coordination / commercial worker. We should have so it's creating templates so that the information about a possible client that you meet, client for the big CoopCycle, not your own co-op, and we have a template that can be used in the, I don't know how you call it in English, CRM? Un CRM? It's already English, yeah. Within the CRM of CoopCycle, and is the work of Aubin in our current case to know who to contact, where they've been contacted, and the whole thing. There was the question of the newsletter that can be used both for communication in and out the co-op. So it could be a work group, same that create a process to make sure that every event is quickly found. And so every, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 months, that group can just go in that file, click, be like, oh, this happened, dev team has done that, create the newsletter, send it to whoever wants it. Social network scheduling, same, it's basically always work groups, but we all have low working time, maybe not all, but some of us, and maybe try to make a clear communication plan and a funnel system to make sure that communication material like pictures, everything just goes up to CoopCycle. We all do communication stuff. Let's use it for CoopCycle too. It's a joke I made earlier to the dev team, but it is the case. Some co-op members got coding knowledge on some very specific things, maybe first tests can be coded by members if they know how to do that, then to basically make the dev team job easier to test it, and if it works, just use it. And also share it with, if it's very like specific, like it would, in our conversation it was about invoicing. If sharing the invoice code that you use to make it look good and the whole thing. One of the way to address what we've done was also to do it the opposite, not think about what does CoopCycle need, but more reach every co-op to be like, what are your skills? We know that in the courier world, a lot of people have done other stuff in their life and have very specific skills that can be very useful, and maybe we don't think about it. And so it's like reverse engineering what we've done now. Another one is translation. We have a lot of documents. We have a lot of different languages within CoopCycle. And even if we know that ChatGPT can translate, you always need to reread the whole thing, make sure it's actually what it's supposed to mean. Another one, I've got one last one and then a thought, is to help a group that would help the dev team to prioritize GitHub issues. That would be a long-term thing to organize, like we have a workshop tomorrow about the global roadmap of the dev team, but maybe a small group could do the job of, we get all those issues on GitHub, let's in French we say like pre-chew the work on prioritizing those GitHub issues, so then the dev team, it's like less work. And then a last one is it was a bit of a thought of the border between what can be considered as work for CoopCycle or just a normal cooperativist behavior, like someone from another co-op call you because you're the food tech specialist and you give them advice. Setting that border is very difficult because also we think that we should normalize the fact of helping each others. So we don't know if, like, for example, I've called Hugo from Les Cours Sirenais several times. Do we consider this as work for CoopCycle or just as a normal, we all networking and all our friends and live a beautiful life? So that was it for our group.
Okay. So there is some similar thing. In order, it would be a working group about external communication, and within this umbrella, we could make some working group. One about design. Could have another one about social media, and there could be another one about merch and equipment, so to buy and to personalize equipment. So external communication umbrella. Then about internal communication umbrella, we could have a working group about the dev communication about the app, development of the app. So we ensure that every development are well communicated, like new features about the app, helping this communication within the federation. And inside of this internal communication umbrella, we also suggest special working group about information system, talking about CRM, like a database, cleaning the Slack, organizing the Slack, could be stuff like that, like and the wiki. So yeah, information system working group, which I'm really willing to be part of, and knowledge base, Slack. Wiki. Then also a working group about events. And we also thought about making a working group for the GA, because it's a lot of work for the salary of CoopCycle, for the board member, and maybe a working group for people that are willing to help for the GA. And maybe with this idea that every GA could have a special topic associated with, like this GA was about the gender perspective. The next GA could be about bike repair, or about commercial thing or whatever. And so yeah, in this working group about events could be also the representation of CoopCycle on championships and other events. So yeah, working group about events. And another working group could be about intercooperation. So to try to create some local federation, as we saw today in País Vasco, Catalonia, things like that. And we found it very interesting, this feedback about what happened in this local federation this year. And so during the GA, next GA, every local federation could make an expose, like a presentation about what they did to inspire other local federation. And yeah, it opens the way about inside of the local federation to have working group about commercial development, grants, and public markets to respond to public markets, which are heavy paperwork that can be very well mutualized within cooperative of the same territory. A working group about onboarding. We discussed just a bit about how to reach new member in Sweden. But yeah, within a working group of onboarding, it could be the real onboarding, like making presentation to new member, but also just how to reach existing cooperative or existing company. And last but not least, a working group about care, burnout, and conflict management, which could be a working group where we gather the tools already existing in some co-ops about conflict management, care time within a cooperative, and burnout prevention, and together all of this to have more energy in the working group. That's it.
Hey, so basically we had some similar approach, but we begin by asking ourselves a couple questions. First, how to define what is a working time contribution to CoopCycle as a cooperative, and hence the question how to differentiate what is expected in terms of investment as an intermediate member or from a regular member. And the second question would be how to organize the coordination between CoopCycle and the cooperative for this working time contribution. So we do not have the answer for this question, but they need to be answered in some way. We also had a little bit more examples for groups, for working groups. For instance, for the communication groups as well. We discussed about having somebody doing internal communication. That could be an easy task to delegate from CoopCycle's point of view. For like more external communication, we will need to find somebody within the skills within the CoopCycle organization, that somebody has the skill for social media, marketing experience, or photography skills. That, as you mentioned, probably already exists. But then the question raised on how to split the division of labor within these groups, because probably there would need to be several people involved and people from different places, and how would they work together. And also we talked about prioritizing the tasks within each groups, because each working group could have a lot of things to do, but we know that people will not have an exceeding amount of time to give to CoopCycle. So what will be to prioritize? That applies, for example, for onboarding. We talked about onboarding. That seems something that could require a lot of time. It seems like maybe one person could organize the onboarding sub-working group, with one or two people explaining the software, doing only software presentation, like 1 or 2 hours a week with the booking schedule. and that will be their only task they could be doing, and that's an easy thing to track, etc. And then having like maybe another person explaining the federation to onboarding potential cops. And yeah, lastly, we talked about how to select member that could be taking part into the subgroups. And maybe a way would be to do some kind of survey that that would ask people, well, cooperative skill sets within CoopCycles, and then have a pool of available people and be able to choose from it. That would be an idea. And then also we could have something such as like a mission board. That's stuff that need to be done, that could be passed into the board. That is the strategic component of CoopCycle, that will be making the decision if that needs to be added on a mission board or not. The request could be made to coordination itself, that decides if it passes on to the board or not, and the board would maybe like decide if it makes sense or not to create the working group. Yeah, basically that's it.
Ah, mira. Vale, ¿se oye bien? ¿Sí? ¿Y se oye? ¿Sí? En el grupo de, digamos, español, latinoamericano, como de los grupos que tenemos identificados, sí que en onboarding, que ya ha salido también, pues sí que ha habido predisposición de rama para dedicar algunas horas a involucrarse en este grupo. También ha salido la idea de que seguramente hace falta un escalón intermedio para...
Estamos con la traducción.
Claro. Así también pueden descansar.
¿Lo quieres hacer en inglés?
¿Sí? Muy despacio. Spanish. They need a...
Not Spanish and not French. They should connect to the English, to the Spanish group, and I will speak English.
Okay.
You will have the translation in the channel. CoopCycle channel.
Yes, it's okay. Okay. Vale, pues había este grupo de onboarding que ya está hecho y que había predisposición para trabajar en él desde Rama, de Granollers. Después sí que se veía como la necesidad de tener un grupo de trabajo que pueda estar entre dev y onboarding, que sea como un grupo de personas un poco con conocimiento avanzado sobre la aplicación, especialmente, y que pudieran aconsejar a usuarios que están configurando un proceso de trabajo, y que sería como este grupo intermedio, un grupo de seguimiento, apoyo, y que también puede trabajarse con una fórmula de amadrinaje entre cooperativas de la misma región o del mismo ámbito territorial. Después también salía la idea de un grupo de trabajo en la línea de lo que se ha comentado en otro grupo del burnout, de trabajar en la asistencia psicológica a las cooperativas o a las personas que tienen, bueno, que se encuentran en situaciones complejas de gestionar, y que esto podía ser un trabajo a medio plazo donde Alexia se ha propuesto para poder dedicar un tiempo a trabajar en esto. Después también, a ver...
Onboarding Latinoamérica.
Vale, un grupo específico de onboarding para cooperativas de Latinoamérica, donde Carmena se ha propuesto también para dedicar un tiempo junto con Remy. Después también ha salido el grupo de trabajo de financiación, donde Carmena también se plantea acompañar a Remy, y también Raúl en la parte también de subvenciones. Después en el comité de género, pues tanto Alexia como Nuria y María, bueno, sí, se plantean continuar el trabajo en dedicación en este grupo. Y después también ha salido la idea de poder hacer un grupo de incidencia política para facilitar la interlocución de las cooperativas con las administraciones locales o también a escalas regionales, estatales o europeas, si hay capacidad, para influenciar un poco la toma de decisiones que pueden afectar a cómo hacemos, o sea, restricciones al tráfico, legislación que nos puede afectar, y poder tener la capacidad para incidir a nivel político. Y aquí en esta yo me he puesto como posibilidad de hacer dedicación horaria también. Creo que es un poco el resumen, no sé si hay algo que... Ok, pues that's all.